In a world where hustle culture collides with wellness warnings and workplace demands keep evolving, how do we stay sharp without burning out? How do we navigate the endless stream of wellness trends while actually getting results? This is the Work and Wellness Podcast, and I'm your host, Ange Davis. Drawing from my own journey of wins, stumbles, and honest revelations, I'll be bringing you raw, unfiltered conversations with experts and inspiring guests who've been there, lived it, and found a better way. Together, we'll cut through the noise and workshop what it really means to be well in today's workplace. No more choosing between success and sanity. No more sacrificing health for achievement. Whether you're struggling with burnout, searching for purpose, or simply ready to work smarter, not harder, you're in the right place. This is real talk about real solutions for real people. Let's get into it. Hello, friends. Welcome to the show. I cannot believe that we are already in June. It is wild to think about. And with June comes the end of financial year. And it can often be a pressure point for a lot of us, whether we run our own business, whether we're in the corporate world. But end of financial year can create a little bit of a pressure cooker environment. And it's very normal to be feeling a little scattered, mentally drained, or even emotionally flat. And there's a reason behind that. And we're going to talk today about the psychology of end of financial year pressure and what to do about it. Ways to get you through to the second half of the year and not feeling burnt out and overwhelmed. So end of financial year is stressful for a number of reasons, whether they are true reasons or arbitrary reasons, but there are often reporting deadlines, performance reviews, budget reviews, restructures, audits, planning for the next financial year. And this extra pressure on top of our day jobs often shows up as sleep disruptions or getting less sleep, going to bed later, waking up earlier. You might be feeling heightened anxiety, decision fatigue. There's often a lot more that we have to focus on and make decisions around. We might even be snapping at our loved ones or being a little less patient. These are all ways that the extra pressures of the end of financial year can show up in the way that we are acting. So when we have chronic stress, like we can have at this time of year, it can create prolonged cortisol exposure, which is your stress hormone, which ultimately can lead to brain fog, irritability, and fatigue. So basically what happens is our cognitive bandwidth gets completely maxed out at this time of year, and it can feel like even the smallest things can just set us off or make us feel impatient or agitated or irritated. So why does this happen at end of financial year? Typically, there's more decisions to be made, like I said, and less time. We've got this arbitrary deadline of 30 June where everything has to be decided. Budgets have to be spent. Things have to be locked in and finalized. And that can lead to cognitive overload. We also have more emotional exposure through performance reviews or restructures. It can be stressful thinking about coming up to performance review time, or having that performance review with your leader and thinking about how you've performed this year. There can be a lot of social comparison in a corporate space. Who has hit their numbers this year? Who has done really well? Who might have got a bonus or a promotion? All of that stuff can start to come into our mindset and our thinking. And we've got compounded fatigue at this time of year. Everyone's already been working hard for the first 6 months. Typically from February onwards, there's a real ramp up, and we don't have too many more public holidays until the end of the year. So we don't have those little extra breaks that we can take to give us that bit of recharge. So there's that continued work and effort and resulting fatigue off the back of that. So some of the red flags that you might want to look out for at this time of year are increased anxiety or feelings of dread, particularly on a Sunday night. If you're feeling on a Sunday night like, oh, I don't want to go to work, I don't want to face what I've got on tomorrow, that's a little red flag for you. Trouble sleeping or waking up feeling already tired. It means we're not getting that quality sleep that we need to be able to wake up feeling refreshed. Withdrawing from social connection, either at work or at home, that's a real sign of overwhelm and overload at this time of year. And thoughts of low motivation or lack of hope, sort of feelings like, what's the point? Why do I even bother working hard when you're usually motivated and driven? Those things can be real red flags. The other thing is reaching for more alcohol, sugar, or excessive caffeine to cope as well. So these are all things just to be mindful of. I want to call out that you shouldn't be hard on yourself if you're doing these things. These are very normal reactions to an overload of workload and stress. And it's really a predictable nervous system response to sustained pressure without the appropriate recovery. Now, I have just gotten back from a weekend away, and I have to say, I'm really good at all of my inputs in terms of looking after my well-being and my health. But I'd really started letting my sleep slip. I was going to bed later, working longer, and I was feeling a lot of these things. Reaching for more sugar, drinking more coffee than I usually would. I'm 1 cup of coffee a day, and I'd started drinking 2 or double shots regularly. I was certainly withdrawing from social connection, and I was having trouble sleeping, so waking up feeling tired. So we just went pretty offline for the last 3 days. I slept 10 hours a night. We're in bed by 7:30. And I honestly feel like a new person. So I encourage you to take some time. You don't even have to go away, but can you have a couple of days where you are disconnected from your devices, where you can get a little bit of extra sleep and maybe just do some fun things outside of your normal routine over this month on the weekends to make yourself feel like you're a little bit more recharged? I wanted to share with you some tools to help self-regulate if you are feeling this way. The first one is breath work. I talk about breath work quite a lot, but one of my favorite breath works, and if you've been listening for a while, you will know, it is the Stanford breaths. So you take a big inhale, an extra sip of air, and a big long exhale. Completely empty the lungs. If you do that 5 times over, that is the fastest way to switch you from your fight or flight into your rest and digest. So it's a really good tool to use when you're getting out of the car between work and home, when you're leaving a meeting that might have been stressful, or even first thing in the morning when you wake up. The second thing is the one thing rule. Choose one non-negotiable work task and one non-negotiable thing for your well-being that you will do every day for the month of June without fail. Now, it doesn't matter what it is. It might just be, I'm going to do 5 Stanford breaths every single day, or I'm going to exercise for 10 minutes every day, even if that just looks like a walk around the block. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's something for you and then something for work that you commit to every day. And you say to yourself, if I only get this one thing done today, I'll be okay. And that helps to alleviate the additional pressure that we can put on ourselves at this time of year. The third thing is resetting your boundaries. As we come to end of financial year, our boundaries often get diminished and we start pushing further and doing more and working more. So protect your thinking time in your calendar. We cannot be the best version and most productive version of ourselves if we don't have quiet space to think. If we're always doing, we are less productive. So protect that time. The other thing I really advocate for is putting your lunch break in your calendar, and do not let people book over that. Take that time away from your computer, away from your desk to focus Be outdoors if you can and just focus on eating a really healthy meal. And then turning off your notifications outside of work. So if you've got email notifications that pop up or anything like that on your mobile device or on your computer that you can hear, turn those off outside of work. The fourth one, fuel your brain. And this is the first thing that goes for me when I'm really busy and overwhelmed. And thank goodness for my husband, Liam, who, if it wasn't for him last week, I don't even know what I would have eaten. But he cooked up all my meals last week and I'm so, so grateful. But not skipping meals in the name of productivity is really important, and getting some really good quality protein and fats and fibers for your brain during this time of year can be really, really helpful. So making sure that you're having protein with every meal. Wake up and start your day with a 500 ml glass of water. When our brains are even 1 to 2% dehydrated, it creates significant cognitive fogginess. And so having that hydration is really important. And smart snacks. Can you have snacks already portioned out in the fridge or in your work bag to make sure that the things that you're reaching for are going to fuel you rather than deplete you? To be clear, caffeine is not a meal. Often when we're in busy times, we can skip breakfast and just have a coffee. Caffeine's not a meal. So trying to have something in your stomach before you have caffeine as well can really help with those feelings of anxiety and overwhelm. And the final one, mental offloading. I am a huge fan of this. Write down everything swirling around in your mind before you go to bed or before you leave work for the day. When I worked in an office, I used to do this every single day before I left work. What are all the things that I need to do tomorrow? What are some of the projects that I want to talk to my team about? What are the things that are just lingering in my mind that I know I need to do? Because that gets it out of your brain and onto the paper, and it can really help, particularly when you go to sleep at night. Because I'm sure there are many of you who wake up in the middle of the night thinking about all the things that they need to do the next day or the things that they forgot about the day before. By doing this when you leave work or just before you go to bed, it can be incredibly helpful to stop that wake up in the middle of the night. It just helps to reduce the loop of intrusive thoughts, or it helps you to stay present. How many of us come home and we're distracted with our loved ones because we're thinking about all the other things that we have to do? So by taking that time just to write everything down on a piece of paper or voice note it to yourself, it can be really, really helpful. So those things really help for me. Writing things down is one of my most helpful ones, and preparing meals and snacks, making sure I'm also having a big glass of water when I wake up. All those things really, really help. If you're a leader of a team at this time of year, there are some ways that you can support your team as well. One of the biggest things that I think is important as a leader is reducing false urgency. Now, there are so many times at this time of year where there is just that false urgency to get everything done by this arbitrary deadline of 30 June, and it just creates extra pressure that doesn't need to be there. And so just asking yourself and your team, is this actually urgent? And what would happen if we don't do it by 30 June? So I think it's really important as a leader to push back on unreasonable timelines where possible. Of course, there are things that need to get done. That is the nature of business at this time of year, but there are things that actually don't. And so really being discerning about what you push to the new financial year and what needs to be done by 30 June. As a leader, it's really important to also model the behavior you want to see. Take breaks, share your boundaries, and uphold them with your team. Show your team that you are taking a break and stepping away at lunchtime. And it might even help in team meetings to share your own practices as a leader for managing pressure. And it really creates that psychological safety for others in the team to do the same thing. The third one is create capacity buffers. So understand that end of financial year, is not just a finance deadline or an HR deadline for performance reviews. Everyone actually feels the pinch throughout an organization, and it really does trickle through. So, as I said earlier, in terms of the reducing false urgency, having a look at all of your tasks and projects and reallocating certain ones to the new financial year if it's not critical to get done now. Very often we get caught up in keep on charging through, keep doing the things we're doing, but actually just taking a moment to spend an hour with your team and deciding what can pause and what we need to drive forward with. The fourth one is recognizing the load with your team and not just adding to it. So starting conversations with, I know there's a lot on, what would be most helpful for you right now? And really asking the team what you can help them with or what the rest of the team can help them with. Because sometimes there'll be members of the team who aren't as full on capacity as other members. So can you redistribute workload to make things a little bit easier? And checking in on the human before you check in on the task. How are you going? How's your well-being feeling, etc. before you go into how's that project or task going. And then the final one, and it might sound obvious, but it's very easy not to do, is being proactive rather than reactive. Don't wait until burnout shows up. Ask people how they are managing now and start to create interventions if you're sensing that people in your team are feeling overwhelmed or overly fatigued. Consider things like even your employee assistance program if you've got them, or even, whilst it sounds counterintuitive at this time of year, I would often give my team a half day off to go spend time with their family, relax, recharge, and then come back the next day or the next week feeling better. Sometimes that can create better productivity as opposed to worse productivity because the person just needed an afternoon off for some really good downtime, R&R, time with their family. Those things can really, really help if you're a leader of a team at this time of year. So it's a tough time of year for a lot of people in businesses. Everyone is tired, overwhelmed, feeling at capacity. And I think it can be a real time where we can let our health, mental health, and well-being really go. Everyone's stress is valid at this time of year, and you don't have to just push through. There are ways that you can look after yourself and your teams to make sure that there are little things that you can intersperse into your day that are going to help get to the end of June and feel really good. They can help regulate your nervous system and protect your energy and mean that you're not going into 1 July feeling completely run down and depleted. And I think leaders have a really unique opportunity to create safety and structure through this time to promote people looking after their well-being as humans first, and then the tasks will follow. I want to finish by saying you don't have to white knuckle it to the end of June. Protecting your mental health and your well-being is not a luxury. It's an absolute necessity. And I'm sure many of you have heard this saying before, but it's so important to put your own oxygen mask on first, look after yourself first. And I guarantee all of the tasks and projects will flow much more easily when you are feeling well and yourself. Thanks for joining me on Work and Wellness. If today's episode resonated with you, remember, someone in your network might need to hear this too. Share it with a colleague or friend who could use these insights. I'd love to keep the conversation going, so find us on Instagram at Mind Your Grit, where we share daily tips and continue these discussions. And if you found value in today's episode, please take time to rate and review the show. It makes such a huge difference and helps other people discover conversations they might really need. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Each week, we're building a community of people who believe that success and well-being go hand in hand. You can find the notes, resources, and links from today's episode at mindyourgrit.com. This is Work and Wellness with Davies. Your work matters, your wellness matters, and this is where it all comes together. See you next week.